Hello, folks, and welcome back to Chris Wyatt Africa. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania, and that oak over there on the side there is Marko, Janse van Rensburg. Hoe gaat het?
How's it going, Chris? Pretty well, thank you. Cold this side. We're in Italy at the moment, so it's pretty cold.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time believing it's cold. You're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to put it up for the viewers very quickly here. Here's a photograph of Marko in Italy with some of his teammates, and notice that they're wearing jackets, and a lot of South Africans got umbrellas. I'm not really sure what an umbrella does in a snowstorm, but anyway, but look at Marko's footwear there. He's not exactly dressed well for snow season. And let me just pull this other picture up here. That's there. There you can see better. There's a little something wrong with that footwear. And who's that with you there? He's got socks on and flip flops. Anyway, so apparently that winter weather isn't phasing Marko Janse van Rensburg, is it?
So there's a reasoning behind that. I'm not that stupid. So we were lying in our hotel rooms, and the oak next to me with the flip flops and the socks on is Janse Rudolph. He's one of my teammates. He's my teammate now, and he used to be one of my teammates when I was still at the Pumas. And we checked out the window and we saw it was snowing. And obviously, being a bunch of guys from Bloemfontein, we're not really used to the snow. So we just quickly jumped up, put our flip-flops on, and went outside. That's when they took the picture. So I didn't really go out walking out in the snow with my flip-flops on, but the photo evidence on Facebook seems to prove otherwise.
Well, to be fair, I didn't get this from Facebook. I got it from Twitter. No, but seriously, you mentioned the Pumas. Before we get into discussion about this weekend and what's going on with you, boy, the Pumas won the Curry Cup. I would be excited, except that they beat the Griquas, and I was really pulling for the Griquas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had one hell of a season under coach Jimmy Stonehouse the last year. It was just they really worked hard for a whole couple of years, and it just seems to have worked out for them. That happened before I joined the Cheetahs. I know it's a bit of a sore point in this specific camp because it's a sort of the game that shall not be named type of thing, because the Pumas beat the Cheetahs in the semi-final of that Curry Cup, and it was a little bit of an upset, and everyone's still a little bit beat up about it. So we don't really mention that. There's a bunch of guys in this squad that used to play for the Pumas, so it's sort of an unspoken event.
Yeah. Well, I actually covered that game live because I do play-by-play and color commentary, and it was a heck of a finish. I'll have to say that game in Bloemfontein. I don't know how the Cheetahs. We won't go into. I don't know how they squandered that game, and that where you said it was before your arrival to the Cheetahs this time around. But a lot has happened. That team is all over the place now. As you mentioned, some playing for the Cheetahs. Also, Willy Engelbrecht now playing for the Stormers. Actually, yes. I'm kind of happy about that myself as a Stormers fan, but. Anyway,
yes.
So hey, listen. When last we spoke, you're still with Rugby ATL, I believe, and you were with Rugby ATL then. And we did an interview. Also saw you on the ground down there several times in Atlanta. Are you still with Rugby ATL? Will you be back this season, which begins in a few weeks?
No, unfortunately not. No, I won't be back. I'm in the Cheetahs now. I signed a 2-year deal, so I'm in Bloemfontein at the Cheetahs for the foreseeable future. I had a hell of a time in Atlanta for 2 seasons. First season, obviously, came so close. We lost to the Guiltinis in the final 2021, and then last year sort of was a hit and miss season for Rugby ATL. We also just fell short in one of the knockouts before the playoffs. So it was one hell of a ride. But I'm back in South Africa for the foreseeable future.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to just consider whether I'm going to go back to Atlanta to cover games this year. I mean, if Mumpson's not there, I'm definitely not going back. I'll have to talk to him and see if he's still going to be in Atlanta.
Oh no, he's there. He's there for the long run.
Okay, all right.
As far as I know.
All right, just checking. No, but I tell you what, one of the look, I think a lot of us enjoy high-scoring games, but one of the best matches I've ever been to, and I've been to test matches, Springboks, teams around the world, World Cups. Many World Cups. And one of the most enjoyable games I went to was that championship game for the Eastern Conference against Rooney down there in Atlanta. You guys won 10-9 late in the game. That was a heck of a defensive struggle out there. And as a hooker, you definitely played a role in keeping things under control.
That was tough. Yeah, I must say that was one of the one of the best victories of my life, I must say. It was so rewarding. Back then, we also had a real tough season. Obviously, Atlanta being sort of a new team in the league, nobody really knew what to make of us, and we were sort of the underdogs going into that whole season. And I think we proved a lot of guys wrong, and we really put our name on being part of the contenders for the MLR Championship every year running, because they saw that you can, with a good defense, a good kicking game, and a good set piece, you can get far. And we really, that was a tough game, Cheetahs.
No, it really was. It was quite an exciting game too. A pretty decent crowd out there, nearly a sold-out stadium there at Life University, which is an interesting setting.
Yeah.
But quite an experience. I'm glad you had a good time with Atlanta. My time being associated with that one season in particular, and that season was really exciting for me too. A lot of personal expense to travel to Atlanta, but it was worth it to see you guys put on a good program there. So. Listen, I was going to ask you. Look, you're not on the side of the low side of the 20s here. You're not an old gray guy yet. So you're kind of in the middle there right now when it comes to rugby players. So I was going to ask you, what's it like to play with the legends like Rohan Pinar and Franz Sten, but they're not playing. What's going on there? That's 2 weeks in a row they're not there.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that I'm not the gray silver fox yet. I do feel that front row is peak at like 30, 31. So maybe I'm only in my prime right now. So I keep telling myself that in anyway. So, but I still feel good. Still keep going, keeping up with the young boys. So happy to do it. I must say. We've been learning so much from the senior guys in the team. Unfortunately, they're both out with injuries. They were going to travel with, and this time around, then Rohan Pinar got an injury literally 2 days before we had to fly out, and Franz had struggled with a hamstring injury that he picked up the previous tour in December when we played against Po from France. So he was going to make it. He was originally in the squad to make it, but also pulled out last minute. But luckily we've got some young, exciting guys coming up that'll hopefully prove themselves in the big games.
Well, speaking of that, there is no bigger game for the Cheetahs right now than Sunday against Section Palois, I think that you're playing against, in a home game, not in Bloemfontein, but at Stadio Sergio Franchi in Parma, Italy. That's for the front office to get into. I suspect it has something to do with the cost and expense and the travel back and forth. But it is kind of odd to see your home game in Italy, is it not?
So the reasoning behind it is we're only an invitational side in this competition for the time being, which means that we won't get a home game in Bloemfontein yet. We hope to obviously beat Section Polos on Sunday. And then we'll make it through to the top 16, and then which would probably cement our place to be invited again and hopefully become a permanent part of this competition.
Well, I think that's a critical part of this that folks need to understand is that the Cheetahs, who were part of the Pro 14, along with, of course, the Southern Kings, which don't exist anymore, sadly, but the Cheetahs, they were, I don't want to say dumped, but those two South African sides, which really proved the proof of concept, because the whole question was, could South African sides play in the Northern Hemisphere? Would it work? And some people are like, yeah, it's easy. It's the same time zones. You just go back and forth 12 hours. But still, as an athlete and as a person who travels, that's an easy thing to say. But 12 hours of flight and then getting there and prepping, and even if you have a bye week in between, can be a challenge. But the Cheetahs, particularly, the Kings didn't do so well. But the Cheetahs proved that the proof of concept that could be done. And then, well, congratulations, Cheetahs. You did a great job. Thanks for being part of Pro 14. Now we're going to have URC, and you're no longer welcome. So they invite the Stormers and the Bulls and the Sharks and the Lions in there. So I think this is a great opportunity for Cheetahs fans who kind of feel a little bit cheated as they've not seen anything like this in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been tough. Obviously, me coming in towards the end of 2022, I wasn't really part of those seasons where they obviously got dumped out of Super Rugby first, and they got dumped out of out of Pro 14. And then they went the whole time, probably a period of more than a year and a half, that they didn't really know in what competition they were playing. Will they get paid? Will they this? Will they that? Because there's no competitions to play in 12 months and only play one Currie Cup. It's tough. It's tough psychologically on the gentlemen and on the staff and everyone surrounding the whole franchise, obviously working behind the scenes to get competitions, and people promise you things and then it doesn't happen. So being in this competition really means a hell of a lot to the union, and I think to the whole city of Bloemfontein, because obviously they want to see their team. And I must say, Bloemfontein Cheetahs fans must rank up there when it comes to fanatics. I must say they are crazy about rugby, and they're obviously very involved. So they are really happy to see us in European competition and really want to see us doing well.
Well, you speak of the Cheetahs fans. That's definitely the case, because I have a number of viewers who are like, all the time give me a hard time because I never had a Cheetahs jersey until last fall. And so, where's your Cheetahs jersey? Because I'm always wearing Stormers or Bulls or Lion, or not Lions, but Sharks jersey. So the other thing too is that I started a TikTok channel just to do summaries of games and do live streams, because you can't do that on YouTube. They'll hit you when music plays the stadium. You get a copyright claim. So I started a TikTok channel, which I just started, and I put up the results of the game last week. Unfortunately, 2017. I thought you guys could pull that one out. It was a tough break, but the Cheetahs were trailing way behind the Bulls summary. The Bulls were a lot more Bulls fans, and I mentioned to one of my viewers who's a Cheetah fan, and suddenly the numbers started changing. The Cheetah views started going up, and now I have more Cheetah views on my videos than I had on the Bulls. So obviously a lot of dedicated Cheetah fans there. So last week, that game was kind of tough. I mean, you guys are on the road, and you came back, took the lead, and it just kind of got away from you late there in the game.
Cheapers, last week's game, it was such a tough game. And watching the game back on TV or on our video reviews and stuff, it doesn't look like it, but the ball was soaking wet on the field. It was raining the whole week before. It was bad. I think I only saw the sun once in 7 days, so it wasn't great. So you can't really see, and it's difficult to judge as a spectator. I know there were a bunch of harsh comments on our Facebook page, and on even some of the guys got messages and texts and stuff. And they were hard on us, some of the fans, but you couldn't really see how wet that ball was and how slippery the conditions were, and it was cold. Not to make any excuses, of course, but it's easy to look from the outside and criticize, but actually being out there, it's away from home, it's a tough game. It's really something out of our comfort zone. Some of these guys that played haven't even been outside of South Africa in their whole life. So it's traveling away from home, away from your family, your support network. It is tough. And again, I don't want to make any excuses for the game, because we were in it. We were in it the whole game. Unlike the first round, where they totally blew us out of the park in the first half, we brought it back the second half beautifully. But in the first half, they really ran away with it. And I think credit to the coaching side for this side. We took our learnings from the first game. We knew we had to step up our kicking game and our chase game, especially. Obviously, your kick is only as good as his chase. So we knew what their strengths were, and we knew what they were going to come after us for. And I think we fixed it during the week. We played sometimes we played really good rugby, kept the ball for a couple of phases, really defended really well. Unfortunately, three points. That's tough, but I'm never satisfied with a with a loss. But losing with 3 points away from home, tough situation. Yeah, definitely some good things that we can take out of it. Hopefully we can apply those things this weekend.
Well, listen, I have to say, Marko, I don't take that as an excuse at all. I mean, I didn't see you making excuses. I just see you relating the facts. I mean, you yourself have traveled around the world to play rugby. You know what it's like to shift. I mean, you know what it's like to be hot in South Africa, but that brutal humidity in Atlanta is something you have to adjust to. You learn how to deal that. Now you're out there in flip-flops in the snow. I mean, it's one thing, it's another. But as you mentioned, a lot of these guys have never dealt with that. It's the first time that they're dealing with something like that. So I don't take that at all like that. And I think the diehard Cheetah fans fans should be more understanding. It's a shame that people got nasty notes. That's unnecessary. Listen, I was disappointed, but I was impressed at the effort that was put in. The thing for me with the Cheetahs is that historically, when I watched the Cheetahs back in Super Rugby and Currie Cup, I always knew I could turn in to see the Cheetahs game because they'd score 45 or 70 points in a game. They might lose, but they'd score 75 points. It was always a high-scoring game, and this was a much lower affair, and so it was much more controlled. A bit disappointment, but no, I don't take it that way at all. So let me ask you this question away from that game before we get to this weekend's game. So Jean-Jerry Rudolph, he looks like a tough guy. Is he a really nice guy, or is he a guy that you just don't want to run into on the street because it might go badly?
No, he's the nicest guy you'll meet. He's a really lovely guy. I've actually known him since I was 3 years old. My mom and his mom are best friends. They went to university together, so we've known each other forever. And he's off the field. He's a really nice guy. But I can say this because I've been his teammate and I've been on the other side playing against him. He's an absolute a-hole on the field, I must be honest. He's really annoying. He's one of those guys that you really want on your team and not against you, because he's a really good fetcher of the ball. So he's always on the edge of the law. So he's always busy and he's always working really hard. So yeah, I must say, really good guy off the field, really nice guy, but on the field, wouldn't want to play against him.
Always on the edge of the laws. It sounds like the entire England national team. I'm just saying. Mario Toja.
Not going to say anything. No comment.
Don't you get involved there.
No comment.
No comment. That's there for me. All right. So this weekend, it's do or die. And as I said to you in our message last night, none of this die. It's due time. Are you guys up for this? I mean, that should be an obvious answer. You're up for it, but I mean, it's obviously you want to advance to the next round of this thing.
Yeah, sure. So basically, as it stands at the moment, I think we're on 5 or 6 log points, and Section Polwas is on 7, I think. So basically, it's the last game for both of us before the round of 16. So it's either us or them that's going through to the round of 16. So one would call it a do or die match, like I said last night. But yeah, hopefully we'll do and not die. But we really had a good week of training. We had a long time. We got in on Monday. No, we got in on Saturday already. So we've been here for a whole couple of days, had a couple of good gym sessions, couple of good recovery sessions, and real good sessions on the field. So I think we're really prepared. We just before the school, we just came back from our last heavy training session, and it went really well. Good quality, good intensity in the cold. It's not snowing anymore, at least, but it's still bloody cold. So we had good training sessions this week, and I think we're fully prepared to take them on Sunday. So tomorrow will be just the captain's run. So we'll have an early breakfast and then just go do the basics. The forwards will do their line-outs, the backs will do some of their strike moves, and we'll do 1 or 2 moves, and then we're out of there. So tomorrow's going to be a chill day, and then we'll be ready for Sunday afternoon.
Excellent. Well, one of the things that I understand, because one of my viewers and a person I've actually done for my meet and greets, I travel and I meet viewers, done it in South Africa, done it in the UK. One of my viewers from the UK who's Welsh but lives in England, so he's very confused. He told me, he said, the thing about the Cheetahs is that it's hard to root against them because in Wales, among the South African sides, apparently a lot of the Welsh have a soft spot for the Cheetahs. I didn't know that. I don't know if you felt that on the pitch from the spectators or not, but that's what he says.
No, I must say I didn't really get that because it was quite hostile.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, because I was playing with the bench that game, and the bench was literally two rows ahead of the spectators. So if they wanted to, they could smack us at the back of the head or pour beer down our shirts. So if they wanted to, you know how they go. Yeah. Everything's chirping in the back of your head. So I wouldn't say. On the other side of the field, I saw one cheetah flag. So maybe it was like just an orange speck in the sea of red. So I didn't really get that. But I must say the community in Swansea, they were really accepting of us, and they really liked us there, and everyone was very welcoming and very friendly. So we had a good time there.
Now, this next comment you don't have to respond to, but then please answer the question. So the next comment is that I'm going to ask you if it's strange playing in Italy at a home game, and what's the crowd like? It's probably pretty small. I did see the game when you were there, and it was kind of small. But before you answer that, I'm going to make the comment. It's not much different than a Curry Cup crowd. Oh, small. Anyway, so anyway, what's it like there in Italy?
I'll answer your question. I won't respond to the comment.
That's what I set it up for. You don't have to respond to that comment.
Yeah, that's bad. Anyway, moving on. I must say, being the invitational side on this side, this being our home pitch, obviously there's few and far between Cheetah supporters in Italy. They don't speak much English here, let alone Afrikaans. So it was tough. There was like a handful, maybe friends of family of some of the coaches or some of the players that came out to watch us. But other than that, I think the Scarlet's support staff the last time around were more than our fans. So it was. But I must say, obviously, it's nice playing in front of a big crowd, and but in the heat of the moment, when you're out between the four white lines and the adrenaline is pumping, flip, and you don't really realize until the play stops. Because obviously it's just where you just play, you just have to do what you have to do, and at the end of the day, the guy in front of you, it's you versus him, and you have to tackle him, and there's not much thinking about the crowd then. But yeah, like I said, it is good to play in front of a home crowd, but it doesn't really make a difference. We just have to go out and be our best.
No, I think it's a great way to look at it, but it definitely, when you're in a big stadium and there's thousands of people there, it definitely puts a different atmosphere, which is kind of interesting. But it was kind of weird. I mean, when I looked at the schedule, I was really excited to find out months ago that the Cheetahs were being invited. That was really cool to see. The Lions came up as well, of course, because they were in URC. But I was really excited to see it. But then when I saw the home games were in Italy, I'm like, I got to think about this for a second. That seems kind of strange. By the way, just to let you know, I was just handed a red card. Sam Unko says that I was handed a red card for what I said about the Curry Cup attendance. Listen, I have a lot of issues with World Rugby officiating, Sam, so don't get me started right there. You think Rossi's upset? I'm upset. Anyway, but seriously. So, I mean, what's it like, the reception there in Italy? I mean, had you been to Italy before? By the way, just for interest of full disclosure, I lived in Italy for 2 years, not too far from where you're at. I was up in Vicenza with the Army for 2 years. What's it been like for you there?
Okay. Coming here for the first time. Last time was because we stayed in Palma both times, obviously stayed in the same hotel. The first time coming here, it's difficult because the language barrier is tough. Like every now and then you'll get someone who speaks English, but most of the time it's all Italian, and that's it. And obviously my Italian is zero, so I now know how to say hello and goodbye and please and thank you, but that's about it. So it's been, I think, for me and for some of the guys that hasn't been here before, because this being my first time, well, previous tour was my first time. It was a bit of a culture shock for us, I think. And some of these guys with the local cuisine, some of these guys are a bit full of nonsense. Coming in from South Africa, only want to eat braai meat. So it has been a bit of a culture shock to some of the guys, I must say. But it's nice. I like it. I like the city. We stay pretty close to the sort of old town where all the cathedrals and all the old churches are. So there's the coffee shop and the gelato shop around every flipping corner, yeah. So it's nice going out. I like to see all the old buildings, a lot of the history and art, and obviously eating Parmesan cheese and Parma ham because we're in Parma, so you have to. And it's a good excuse to carbo load on pasta and pizza. So yeah, I must say I'm enjoying it a lot. It is getting towards that time of the tour, towards the end, where you start missing your wife and your kids and your family back home. So everyone every now and then gets a little bit scratchy with each other, but that's just how it is. You bunch of guys, 30 odd oaks in the same hotel, being in each other's space the whole time. That will happen, but we're a bunch of brothers. We sort it out. So there's nothing serious going on. But to answer your question, I'm enjoying Palma. Yesterday we had a really big snowstorm, and some of the guys saw snow for the first time in their life. So they were filled with childish
Delight
wonder.
and wonder. Yeah.
They were building snowmen and running around the snow, throwing each other with snowballs. Because, like I said, some of the guys saw snow for the first time in their life, as it doesn't snow in South Africa hardly ever.
Well, that's true, but I seem to find the snow every time I get, well, not every time, but when I go to South Africa, it seems to happen. I was in Durban a long time ago, and about 20 some years ago, and I started that day down on the beach. I had shorts on, and I got in the car. I stopped for petrol, I think in Pietermaritzburg or near there. Didn't get out of the car again. As I got up towards the Drakensberg, the weather came in, the temperature dropped precipitously, and it was a freak storm, and the snow was falling all over, and people were pulling off on the side, and I'm like, this is nothing, man. So I kept driving. I got up through Van Rieden's Pass, and I got to Joburg, and it dumped up there too. And I was near Santa, and I stayed like in a Holiday Inn Express or something, a Holiday Inn, something like that. And I get out of the car, and there's a few inches of snow, several centimeters of snow on the ground. I walk into reception, and you should see the look on the guy's face, like, "Sir, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What's wrong?" It's snowing outside. I said, "Yeah. I just came from Durban." Oh, okay. So, and then when I was in South Africa, wintertime, at the end of winter there, just a few months ago in August, I arrived, and it snowed frequently up in Mpumalanga. I think had some snow in Limpopo and other places, and people were buried in snow. Well, people are blaming me for the snow. I didn't bring the snow. It's not my fault.
You brought it with you.
Exactly. But I told him, I said, look, I didn't bring it with me. It's summertime where I came from. Now it's wintertime. If it snows now, it's my fault because I'm coming to South Africa next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so, I was looking forward to Currie Cup. I will be at the Stormers and Bulls game at Loftus on the 18th of February. The other games are being played in Europe for URC, and there is a rescheduling of an Ulster game against the Sharks on the 25th, which is close to the end of my trip. I'm going to try to make that, but that's down in Durban. Anyway, I looked at the Currie Cup schedule. Saro has not put that out yet, South African Rugby Union. And one of my Cheetahs supporters was able to get a list from Cheetahs, but it turns out it winds up being bogus. It's not accurate. Had you guys playing against the Bulls at Loftus in February, and apparently it looks like Currie Cup's not going to start till March now. That's a huge disappointment for me because I want to be one of the few people that shows up and supports people at the game. So Currie Cup is coming up, I believe, in March. Will we see you in Currie Cup, I assume, since you're under contract?
Yeah, you will be seeing me. Unsure about the date yet; it hasn't been confirmed. But the preliminary start date is around the 11th of March. It's unconfirmed that it might change at a moment's notice, but I think it should start early March. You will be seeing me definitely. I look forward to that. That's another challenge on a domestic level.
No doubt about it. And of course, it's the world's oldest rugby competition, which people seem to lose sight of. And a lot of people in South Africa, well, a lot, but some people in South Africa have been rather dismissive of Currie Cup. And particularly after last year when the Griquas and the Pumas surprised everybody and got to the final. And I was quite the opposite. I mean, it was incredibly exciting. I mean, it's great to see that those teams. I mean, the Griquas had not been there since 1970, and the Pumas had never been. So I was really
been there.
Yeah, never been. And then they pull it off. But I was really excited. But it's the dismissive attitude some people have taken towards it. I take issue with that. I think that that the Currie Cup still can be a great competition, and for me, it's great to see a lot of players we don't see a lot of. For instance, I mean, you guys have an incredible fly half who had a great game in my view last week, Sia Masuku. I mean, a lot of people don't get to see Sia. I think that it's great to see players who have talent that we don't see otherwise. Yeah,
sure, 100%. Yeah, it is a bit of a bittersweet type of thing because obviously you don't want the Currie Cup to ever go away because it's got so much history. And I just remember growing up in a small town, probably an hour and a half's drive from Cape Town up the west coast. We would drive to Newlands almost every second weekend to go watch the Western Province play in the Currie Cup, and it was sold out almost every game. Obviously, a lot of things have changed with broadcasting and international competitions that make you use your sort of second tier team to play in the Currie Cup, whereas you obviously prioritize your international competitions. But it's still a little bit sad to see the numbers in the crowd dwindling. You obviously really want to get these days you only get real crowds when you play semis and finals. So I would like to see people coming out and supporting their teams. But obviously, times are tough at the moment, man, financially, and the economy is not great, and there's load shedding, and all the problems in South Africa. So what I think, this is just my personal opinion, is what I think is that it's just become too expensive. If you, as a family of 4 or 5, you've got 3 kids, you want to take them out to a game, you have to pay for parking, you have to pay for dinner, and whereas you can stay at home and stream it, with streaming services these days being so good, especially in South Africa with DSTV, you get to stream, you don't even need to have a cable, as you call it in the States. You don't even need to have cable to watch it. It's not pay-per-view. You just use someone else's, almost like you use someone else's Netflix locking details that you're not supposed to, but people still do it, and they'd rather stay at home and watch it. You can still support your team, but as a player, you would obviously like to see full crowds, and it's also nice to watch it on the TV and still see crowds, and it creates a whole environment that's different to obviously an empty crowd.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting because, unfortunately, in my view, the URC final was marred by the government's decision to limit the crowd, and they sold out what they were allowed to have. I remember it was about 30,000 for that.
25,000 or so, yeah.
Yeah, that stadium would have been full. I mean, it absolutely would have been full. There was a lot of energy for the Bulls and Stormers final, which was pretty incredible. And it's good to see 2 South African sides get to the final, the first URC season. Pretty excited about that.
I loved it. I loved it.
It was amazing. It was good to see, because there's a lot of questions about that, and to me, I thought that was very unfair. There's a lot of people looking down their nose in Europe about with these South African sides coming up there. And I don't know if it's because the Kings did so poorly. They did very poorly in Pro 14. They really did. I mean, I'm not picking on the Kings, and I suppose I could pick on them. They don't exist anymore, but they did poorly. But who's going to complain, right? but the Cheetahs held their own for a few seasons there. So there was a lot of this. Why are we inviting these South African sides up here? But I mean, I think it's kind of silly because if you look at the Welsh and some of the other sides, they're loaded with South African players. I mean, Dwayne Vermeulen is playing for Ulster. Come on.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, you might as well just invite a whole South African team.
Exactly. That's my point. Exactly. So, look, I'll wrap up here shortly because you've got to get back to enjoying the pasta or relaxing a little bit there. But so I think we look forward to see you in the Curry Cup. I'm just when that schedule comes out. So thanks for that kind of heads up around the 11th. Let us know. But is there anybody we should be looking at this weekend really closely in your game that's going to surprise us? Is it going to be one of the wings? Will it be Munir Hatzenberg going to break free for a try or something like that? Or anything? Any predictions for the weekend other than I hope you're going to predict that you're going to win?
Yes, I do predict that if I was a betting man. We've got a whole bunch of exciting backs. I think the team has been announced on social media, so I won't be giving away any secrets. But I must say, Munir Hatzenberg is definitely a guy to watch out for. Daniel Kasende. We've got a bunch of exciting backs, and we definitely, the Cheetahs sort of always pick a real fast back 3 that can really run and spread the ball and good under the high ball. So that's no different this time around. And obviously our forwards and definitely just playing as a pack, we've really come into our own even though I think when we played the Scarlets last round, they outweighed us in the pack by about 100 kgs.
Yeah, that was huge. Big difference there.
Yeah, they had a bunch of big dudes in that team, but we still scrummed them. We still held our own in the maul. So that's really a part of the Cheetahs game that we pride ourselves on, is the set piece and the mauls and the scrums. So definitely be looking out for the whole forward pack, and then obviously when one of those quick wings can get the ball in space, that'll be great to watch. And obviously, like I said, like you said, Sia Masuku's been playing really well, and he's got a cannon of a boot on him. So hopefully he can put up some good contestables, and we can get the ball back and play from turnover ball, which, as you know, playing from turnover ball is one of the biggest sources of tries in this competition, or in any competition for that matter, is the turnover ball. If we can capitalize on that, even make them make mistakes. Even we're happy defending because we trust our defensive system. So we're really, really keen to go out there and just smash them to pieces.
Well, the social media roster, as you mentioned, has been released, and it has Louis van der Westhuizen starting at hooker and you coming off the bench. So here's my direction to you, Marko. When you come off the bench, if the Cheetahs are behind, get them jazzed up and let's win this thing.
Yeah, 100%. Will do.
All right, folks, that's Marko Janse from Rensburg. When last we spoke to him, he was with the Atlanta Rugby ATL side, the Rattlers, down there in Major League Rugby. Now he's back in South Africa, but in Italy at the moment for the Challenge Cup, playing for the Cheetahs. And obviously, everyone that's here is a Cheetahs fan. I'm getting abused over here in the chat a little bit about it. Not saying enough nice things about the Cheetahs. But Marko, thanks a lot. Bye donkey. It's a pleasure to chat with you again. And by the way, folks, you should know, this is what I love about rugby. Rugby players, it's not like the NFL or FIFA or something like that where almost all the players have got this big head and it's hard to, they don't engage with the fans, they're hard to get a hold of. Rugby has always been a game where, like, I was at the Saracens Newcastle game that they did in the States when I first came back from Ethiopia, and Skalk Berger was sitting on the bench. He'd played, came out in the second half. I walked over and said, "Hey, Skalk." He's like, "Hey," I greeted him out for cons. I said, "Can I get a photo?" "Yeah," and we chatted for a second. And the reason I mentioned all that is that I reached out to you last night, and I don't know if you had your phone nearby, but within moments you responded and said, "Yeah, can we do it tomorrow?" And so here you are. So that's what I love about rugby. Rugby players are approachable, and they're really, by and large, good people, except for those guys that play for England. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyway, Marko, thanks a lot. Any final thoughts you want to share with the folks who've listened in tonight or today?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for actually tuning in and keep supporting us through thick and thin. Those are the greatest supporters that you can get. Stick with us, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, we'll pull it through tomorrow. It's going to be a tough one, but if you watch and support from your side, that'll be great. And yeah, just keep spreading the love for the Cheetahs and our beautiful brand of rugby that we play. So enjoy the game tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Sunday. Enjoy the game, and I hope we can make all the diehard supporters proud.
Marko, best of luck on Sunday. We'll be in touch, and I'm expecting a Cheetahs win. If we don't get one, then I'm going to send you a nasty note.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.